Hello and welcome, this is Roofmonger, and I decided to make a video, a bit of my impressions of SoulCalibur VI now that the network test has concluded. So before anything else, I just want to say I had a lot of fun. I kind of expected as much. I didn't expect going in to not like it, because I am a big fan of SoulCalibur. I decided here, let's just break this down into some pros and cons, because it's mostly going to be pros. So pro number one, hey, it's SoulCalibur. If you've never played SoulCalibur before, it's a super intuitive series. It's very easy to get into without really sacrificing any depth, which has always been a fun thing for me. And the core gameplay has always been good. Just the core gameplay of 8-way run, moving around wherever you want, horizontals, verticals, that kind of stuff. It's just a good gameplay system. And with that said, one thing I really like about SoulCalibur VI is they're bringing back the classic cast. SoulCalibur V, well, I don't think it was a bad game by any stretch. It did have some missteps, core of which is it had a new generation style of cast. So it's like, relatives or sons or daughters or hangers-ons of the core characters without actually being the core characters. So like Legia was Zhang Hua, Jiba was Kilik, Patroklos and Pyrrha were Sophidia and Cassandra, and so on and so forth. And honestly, almost nobody liked those characters. And for the most part, when any fighting game pulls this new generation stunt, it always fails. The only one I can think of that did it well is Tekken 3. And the Tekken 3 cast, was Tekken 3. Like, the core cast wasn't quite yet classic or legacy, right? And I know some of you might say, well, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, well, I gotta think, well, okay, maybe Third Strike. But at the time when it was Street Fighter 3, the new generation, people hated that stuff. Nobody wanted these new characters. Nobody wanted characters like Necro when they wanted Dhalsim instead, Over time, those characters, I guess, got a little more traction, but, at the time, trust me when I say they were hated. And very much the same with SoulCalibur V. I don't know anybody who gave a real crap about, Legia when they could have played Zhang Hua instead. No, especially people aggressively didn't care about Natsu and they wanted Taki instead, and so on and so on. So I'm happy it's the core cast of characters. Now, another thing I'm a big fan of is the lethal hit system. Now, I've seen some people compare it directly to, say, the crush counter system in Street Fighter V, and while I think that's a fair comparison, I actually like that there's a bit more than that. While obviously there's quite a few lethal hits that are based off getting the counter hit, there's a lot more that are just like the triggers for these things are a lot more in-depth than that. Like Ivy has one that only triggers if the enemy's walking sideways. So it's not based off counter hit, it's not based off like anything else. They all have their own parameters. Some have a lethal hits, only lethal hit while you're in your soul charge mode. Some only lethal hit while they are in their soul charge mode, or while they are ducking, or whatever. There's a whole bunch of parameters that make you specifically want to watch out for specific situations more than just, oh, hey, I get the counter hit and then, cool combo time, right? So with the layering of how that stuff works, I find that actually quite interesting. And going forward from the lethal hit system, even though they're not, directly one-to-one crush counters, for the most part, lethal hits do lead the combos. And I do find the game is ever so slightly leading more towards combos. This obviously isn't juggle heavy like it is in Tekken or Virtua Fighter or DOA or anything like that. So the core gameplay is not too different, but I do appreciate the slightly higher abundance of combos and overall slightly higher damage. To me, a high damage game is much more interesting than a low damage game, because the potential of comebacks or giant swings and gameplays is a lot more prevalent, and to me a lot more hype. So having a little bit more the combo side of things, I think to me is a good choice. Now, one thing I'm actually a really big fan of is all the characters seem to be much more unique. Not to say they obviously are not unique beforehand, but there's a lot more just traits. Like Ivy now can grab you from a very far away by grabbing your feet. I know a lot of people seem to hate that move, but I play Ivy, so hey, I like that move, right? Things like Nightmare, he's allowed to use one use of a soul charge boosted move. If he manages to get an armored move off, that's cool. Siegfried, much the same when he's low health, he gets to use one Nightmare move, at least from my understanding of it. People like Geralt has EX moves, so when the rest of the cast no longer has EX moves, that was the SoulCalibur V thing. I believe they were called Brave Edges back then. But everyone just seems to work on their own thing. And following into that logic, the soul charge system here. So you can burn one bar to enter a buff state. We usually call that an install state. And the characters, are buffed. Now, what seems to be buffed is unique to character, and I really like that. Like, I mostly played Ivy for most of the beta, so I noticed she got brand new moves straight up. on when she was in her soul charge state. Certain moves that were, you know, XYZ before could be, oh, now this move, like forward BB, before she just kind of stabs and hits you, then forward BB all of a sudden becomes a cinematic style move that's plus on block if it doesn't connect. And that's really neat. And one move I remember as well, I can't remember the notation for because I was just kind of mashing trying to figure out buttons. I've never played any version of SoulCalibur VI beforehand, so I didn't have any of the notations, or I didn't know any of the move lists, so I knew some of the core stuff. But just like one move became straight up unblockable when she was in her soul charge state that was not before, right? So I really like that it brought out a lot more zest to the character other than, oh, everyone does chip damage and does a little bit more damage, right? And it seems to be unique for character to character, case to case. So for me, that brings out a lot more life to each character, that they are already a little more unique now from person to person, and doubly so once they enter their soul charge state. And finally, for the pros section, the one thing I really enjoyed, and this is kind of to me the biggest thing and the deal breaker if it's not good, is the netcode. If you were not aware, some of you guys are, I live basically in the middle of nowhere. I don't have a local scene. I don't. My closest local scenes are Toronto and Montreal, and those are both a long ways away from me. So for that fact, you know, I'm basically relegated to playing online, and I'm fine with that. You know, that's how it is. And I'm glad to say the netcode's actually quite good. I played, I'd say about 100-ish games during my course of the beta, and I had about 5 or 6 games I would say were actively laggy. And being a beta, you know, there's a lot of, you know, casual fans playing, and a lot of those people are going to be on Wi-Fi. That's just how it is, and Wi-Fi is not an optimal way to play fighting games. But even yet, with that in mind, the bulk of my games, the vast majority of my games, were I would consider eminently playable, and not only that, just good. Say in a very tight timing situation where you need to guard impact, I had no problem getting those off. Any tight situation where I needed, like, you know, very minute reactionary timing, I had no problem pulling it off. And just overall, my impressions on that code are just, hey, A-okay. I had a great time with it, and so far, considering this is an early, you know, not even finished state of the game, and I do know the game is now done, but whatever. The build we played was not a finished version of the game, and I have no complaints, and just 2 big thumbs up for the netcode. Now, as for the cons, I only really got 2. One's a bit bigger than the other, but let's go with the small one first, and that's matchmaking. So sometimes matchmaking took a while. Now, I'm going to choose to believe them that when they said network test, they actually mean network test and not just marketing test. So hopefully they can, like, you know, tweak a couple knobs and make the matchmaking faster. Sometimes it was fine. You know, I had 10-15 seconds between games. It was awesome when that happened. But that wasn't every time. Sometimes I'm sitting there for like up to 10 minutes. So I hope that can be tightened. And so far, without, you know, any reason to the contrary, I got no reason to doubt they won't try to tighten that up. And obviously with the, you know, more players coming at launch and all that stuff, it should be fine. But so far, that's one quibble. Now the big quibble is, to be brutally honest, I hate reversal edge. I've talked to a lot of people at a lot of different skill levels, you know, from basically button mashers to pro, and all points in between, and it's kind of universal. Ain't nobody like reversal edge. People will abuse reversal edge to win, sure, but nobody likes it. Now, I waited a couple of days to make this video specifically because I was really hot on the issue because I really didn't like it. So with the benefit of hindsight and, you know, playing more in the beta and getting a little used to it, yes, I understand there's quite a few weaknesses to reversal edge. You can easily sidestep it. You know, you can get a punish from that position, but still, I just don't like it. It's too easy to toss out. Unless you're already looking for it, it's somewhat hard to deal with it. And it's the easiest thing in the world to steal your turn back and then get, you know, potentially a giant reward. I don't really like the guessing game nature of it. Now, I understand, I've learned over time it's a little more nuanced than I originally anticipated, sure, but in the end, it's still a bit of a guessing game. And just certain things like, you can't throw someone while reversal edging. To me, that's a big no-no. If I get, do my hit and, you know, I get bounced off the reversal edge and I get hit, whatever, right? But the fact that I try to grab someone and I bounce off anyways, I don't like that one bit. Also, you're much too incentivized using it because you gain way too much bar. You gain like at least 30% bar just for connecting, and then obviously another giant chunk if you win. And gaining bar in this game is not very quick. Bar is a precious resource in this game, and the easiest and fastest way to gain bar is to spam reversal edge. And, you know, bar is big advantage. You're definitely at advantage if you have a lot of bar, right? So it's really incentivized to use it, and the fact that the producer himself said the core idea of the mechanic is for lesser skilled players to beat better players, I just don't like it. Now that said, obviously I don't like it, but I do think it's a good game overall. Overall, my impression is still way good. The only thing, like, honestly, I would just take out the mechanic itself, to, like, flat out. I would just take out the whole mechanic. Obviously, that's not going to happen at this point, right? The game's already gone gold. It's going to ship soon, so whatever. We'll have to learn and deal with it. I personally don't care for it, but overall, that's not dampening my overall opinion of the game. People who want to spam it, I'm sure will get a lot better over time dealing with it, so it won't be as frustrating. But you really should be able to grab someone doing a reversal edge. That's really silly to me. Anyways. So overall, very positive impression. I cannot wait for release date. I'm really hyped for the game still. Over, like, despite all the complaining you just heard me do about reversal edge, I'm still very, very, very excited for the game, and I can't wait for it to come out. The beta unfortunately did not have my preferred character, Astaroth, so I'm really looking forward to launch to see how Astaroth works and all the differences he's had in this new revision, because I know he has a couple of Rock's new moves. He has like a Zangief's running bear grab style pile driver now. That's going to be really cool. And yeah, so overall, 2 thumbs up, even despite my worries with reversal edge. But yeah, I'm just can't wait, and that's my impressions of SoulCalibur 6. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some SoulCalibur.